Good morning, Emmanuel College, and welcome to chapel. Now, here at Emmanuel, we have so many artistic and creative people, and we want to use you. As you currently know, Cafe La Vie isn't Cafe La Vie anymore, so we think it needs a new name, and we want you guys to help. If you guys have any ideas about what we should name this, feel free to email Matt McCree at mmcree@ec.edu. With this, you'll get a sweet prize, and you'll just get to have the legacy of you renamed Cafe La Vie. The next thing we have is the yearbook. So the yearbook is something really cool that our yearbook staff puts together every year, and we want your photos. So if you want to give your photos to us, check out the announcement so you can figure out what app to download and how you can share those. Now tonight, EC Res Life and Campus Life is hosting an event called Minute to Win It. If you've heard of this, you know it's a lot of fun. This will be tonight at 7 p.m. in Swales. There are 2 cash prizes, and we really encourage you to come out and support us and have some fun. If you're a senior, then you know that you have to have 8 CAP events in order to graduate. So we have one coming up for you. If you have questions about mental health, or if you just want to know what toppings Dr. Bird likes on his pizza, then you should come out October 20th at 7 p.m. in Swales. The psychology department is pairing with the counseling services to answer some of your questions about mental health. Before I go, I want to invite you to Wednesday Night Chapel. Wednesday Night Chapel is a great time to come together as believers and worship and hear a speaker from our campus. We encourage you to come out on Wednesdays at 7:30 p.m. in Swales. I can't wait to see you there. Happy Tuesday. See you next week.
Good morning, friends at Emmanuel College. Today's chapel emphasizes missions. When I think of missions, I think of a variety of trips I've taken around the world, but also it reminds me the importance of doing mission work. The work where we are not just on a mission wanting to accomplish something, but in the context of what we are emphasizing here at Emmanuel is bringing God's love to people, telling them about God's love, but also showing them. And I believe during this season, when our travel schedules are limited, that we can remember the importance of Emmanuel College being a place of doing mission work right here. So think about what opportunities are around us where we can make a positive difference in the lives of people right here and help others hear the good news of God's love through our attitudes, through our actions, and through our ability to explain our why we believe that God loves us and Jesus gave his life for us. That's the mission that I want to be a part of.
Hey guys, it's Janene Wooten. If I don't have the pleasure of knowing you, I am the resident director of Robertson Female Towers. And today I have the pleasure of talking to you guys on Missions Emphasis Chapel, which is really special to me, and I'm really thankful to get to talk to you guys about this. So just to kind of give you a little bit of a background about me and why I'm talking today, I had the really unique experience of getting to grow up as a missionary kid. So what that means is when I was a year old, my parents took me on a plane and we moved to Kenya. If you don't know where that is, it's in East Africa, and it is the most amazing, magical place in the world. If you ever want to talk about it, just find me. I can go on about it forever. But I really loved getting to grow up there and getting to see that. And as I grew up, getting older and everything, getting to work alongside my parents, and just how that really shaped my view on Christianity and faith, and how I was going to serve the Lord. And as I was growing up and everything, I started to feel the Lord really start to pull me towards missions. And I knew at a pretty young age that missions was going to be a part of my life, if not my entire life. And, I grew up, I came to college, I came to Emmanuel. What up? And after I graduated, I really felt the Lord pulling me towards missions. And so in 2017, I moved full-time to the country of Hungary, and that's in Europe, if you don't know. And I got to live there for almost 2.5 years. And while I was there, I was able to be a part of so many really just amazing things that went far beyond anything I could have imagined or pictured for myself. And even more than that, I got to meet so many amazing people, and I got to share with them my faith and why I believe and what it means to me to believe and what my relationship with the Lord means to me. And it's just so special. And actually, at the beginning of this year, I was kind of raising money to go back on the mission field, and I was moving to the country of Wales. But then COVID happened, as it did to everybody, and those plans got changed. And I'm here now. And even though it's not exactly what I thought it would look like, I'm really thankful because I know the Lord brought me here. And as I was thinking about today and what I was going to share, I asked myself, like, well, what does missions mean to me? And what I wanted to share with you guys. First of all, missions is surrender. It's hearing the call of the Lord and answering to it. It's surrendering my ideas and my desires and my thoughts about what I expected my life to look like. Even fostering a call to missions, things have looked different than I thought they would. I mean, this year is a prime example of that, but still being surrendered. In missions and in ministry in any sense, but especially in global missions, you can't be halfway surrendered. You can't have one foot in and one foot out. So it really is. Surrender is such a key point of that. And it's surrendering to something and understanding that there's something bigger than yourself, something that goes so far beyond me. Another part about it that means so much to me in missions is that missions is worship to me. Missions is understanding who God is to me, who He says He is and who He's proven to be in my life over and over again. And it's wanting to give Him everything that I can, to give Him all of myself because He's worthy of it. Because I know He's good and I know He's faithful and I know He's kind and all these things, and wanting to give Him that and pour back out to Him what He's given me. So that's why it's worship to me. And then it's also getting to put action to what I've experienced in Him. It's being able to love people out of a heart that's been able to experience this love that is greater than anything imaginable. It's being able to help people see His light in darkness because He showed me light when all I could see was darkness. It's being passionate about people being set free and healed because I know without Him I would be nothing but a broken mess. And it's all those things together and so much more, but that's what missions means. And whether it's at the other side of the world or it's right here in Franklin Springs, that's what missions is about. That's what our heart towards missions should be. I think about in the end of Matthew chapter 9, when Jesus says He looks on the crowds and they were lost as sheep without a shepherd. And it says that His heart was moved with compassion. I think that's such a clear picture to us of what the heart of Jesus is and what our heart should be towards people who don't know Him. And that should be our drive in missions, again, whether that's on the other side of the world or it's in our dorm, it's in our pod, it's in Franklin Springs, wherever it is, our drive should be that there are people who haven't gotten to know Him as a father and a friend and a healer and a protector. There are people who haven't experienced yet all that He has for them, and that should break our hearts and it should drive us to action. So that's what missions means to me.
Hi, my name is Abby Ortiz, and why are missions important? Missions are important because it is the Great Commission to go out into the world and share the good news that Jesus died on the cross to get us out of our mess. And I think now more than ever, the world needs to hear that. Not only to hear it, but to encounter it. To encounter that love and that saving grace that is only done through you and me. We have to be God's hands and feet on earth. So now, whether your mission field is in India somewhere, or if it's in your backyard, don't stop till the whole world hears.
My name is Shama. I'm 28 years old. I was born in Tanzania, East Africa. Moved to the States when I was 2 years old. When I turned 11, my family, which consisted of my parents, my older brother, and my younger sister, moved back to Tanzania to do mission work with the World Missions Ministries. And I was a missionary kid from 11 to 18. 18 years old, I moved back to the States for college. Moved to Holmes Bible College in Greenville, South Carolina. And I kind of never left Greenville. Been here, got married a couple years ago. My wife and I have a little boy named Ezra, and we live in Greenville. So I love the fact that I grew up a missionary kid. I remember my dad saying, you've been able to travel and have so many experiences that people your age don't have. And at the time, I think I was 15 or 16, I was just kind of like, okay, fine. I didn't like that we moved so much, but that's cool. But then, after I graduated homeschool, like high school, and moved to the States for college, I remember meeting people and talking about the stories and experiences that I had growing up on the mission field in my home country, and people just thinking that was crazy, and now realizing what a huge blessing that was. Growing up a missionary, I've described it as it's kind of like, it was like living in the New Testament, going to open air crusades and watching people be healed, and seeing a stack of wheelchairs and crutches at the end of the stage, was just crazy, and blind people seeing and deaf people hearing. It's one of those experiences that to be a part of it and to watch it is kind of like, wow, is this really happening? Before we went to Tanzania, we itinerated here in the U.S., which just means going around raising support from churches, where you go and explain your, what country you're going to and what you're going to be doing over there. And that was kind of grueling because our family, I remember my brother and I had to drop out of extracurricular activities to go to churches Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night. It was not a fun experience at the time. And when we were in Tanzania, it's one of those things, as a missionary, you're relying on support, and sometimes our support would be low. And I remember my dad would tell us that at evening devotion, and he would say, hey, let's pray that God would send mission partners to support us here on the mission field. And we would, and God was always faithful. I remember we would drive by a plot of land or a building while we were in Tanzania, and my dad would go, that'd be a great place for a church. And then after a few months, we would be in that space miraculously, with connections and people. But it was just one of those things that, seeing God work every single day in amazing ways, and the hardships of ministry, I've kind of described as like the hardships of missions, of trying to find faithful people to co-labor with, and all those things are kind of pale in comparison to the things that you see God do on a day-to-day basis. So even in my life today, using that same faith and trusting the same God who is faithful to the Mrema family in Tanzania and is still faithful to my mom who's a missionary in Tanzania, it's one of those things where I'm like, man, God can do anything. God can do everything. Because I've seen him work before. I didn't like read it in a book. I didn't read about miracles and signs and wonders in just in the Bible or in some Christian author. I've seen it. I've seen it work. So even here in the States now, my wife and I and our son, we'll pray for things. And I don't, in my mind, it's not like, well, I don't know if God's going to answer this or not. I know God's going to answer. And that answer might be a yes or a no, but I know that God has been faithful. So having grown up in missions, more than anything, has just boosted my faith of what ministry is, of what serving the Lord is, what trusting the Lord is. Not everyone is going to have the experience of living overseas and trusting the Lord day to day. But having lived overseas and trusted the Lord day to day was almost like a boot camp, if you will. Like the rubber really met the road. And so now, when I pray, when I have doubts, it's so easy to remember. Just think about, hey, I've seen God move before, and God is still in the moving business every single day. And sometimes the hardships of you just even hearing about what my mom sometimes goes through in the mission field. Sometimes it's really easy for me here in the States, where life is a little cushy, to be like, man, what are you doing? Like, maybe just, I don't know. Is it worth it? And she reminds me, and I always remind me that it is worth it. The people who are clothed, the wells that are dug, the churches that have buildings, the individual people that you get to talk to, not even just on a grand ministry scale, but just the things that you get to do day to day with people is a huge blessing. And it matters to that one my dad had a saying that he would preach at churches when he itinerated that goes, a mission partner is a miracle candidate. And I've seen people who have received miracles from supporting, not because it's like a tit for tat, but God is faithful. And my wife and I support missionaries today. And it is so cool to see God move there, with the money from here, putting it to work there. And it's also great to see God move in our lives here as well. And that he cares for both ends of the spectrum, those who go and those who support or pray for those who go, who make the sacrifice of going. So yeah, missions has been a vital, great impact to my spiritual growth, my upbringing. I credit where I am today, the woman that I married, the career that I have, to kind of being launched into all this from missions, in a sense. I can trace everything back to my parents trusting the Lord to leave the U.S. to go back to Tanzania to do mission work. And I think it's a beautiful thing.
All right. Hey guys, how's it going? My name is DeKendra Teasley. I'm a senior here at Emmanuel College, and I was asked 2 questions. How did missions change my life, and why is missions important? Missions changed my life because, for one, I went to Samaritan's Purse with Mr. Kirk McConnell and several other of my friends. My friends, Justin Chitwood and Savannah Wooten, encouraged me to go, just to try it out for spring break and see how it is. And it changed my life, for me personally, because it gave us the opportunity to serve others, without receiving any type of recognition, and like seeing how hard and like how devastating, like how you can have one thing like one day and lose it all the next, and like absolutely have nothing. And just to see like people, like their faces and them smiling, just from you like trying to help, just being a helping hand, and thinking about something other than yourself. I mean, that's a great, and it's a humbling feeling in itself. And why is missions important? Like basically what I just was saying just a minute ago. Missions important because like it gives you opportunity to serve, and I mean that's what I feel like God has for me to like serve, like doing like avenues and different things, that I like doing and that I've been curious about, and just give me like just to step out on faith basically. And like serving others, like it's a great feeling, when you able to help somebody, and I just like bring a little joy into somebody's life, something that may not seem as big, and something just as small like can mean so much to a person. Because the lady that we had helped when we were there, and my particular group, she brought tears to her eyes, and several times she would come over like gradually, like seeing if we need anything, and like how much she appreciated us, and like what she went through in her lifetime. And I just highly encourage that all of y'all, like if you get the opportunity, I wouldn't pass up on it. It's a great thing, and I hope that we get a chance to go back to Samaritan first. All right, thank you.
What's up, Emmanuel? My name is Jackson Bailey, and I'm a junior in the SCM and on the basketball team. And I had the privilege of going on my first ever missions trip with Emmanuel Singers 2 years ago to Ecuador. Leading up to it, people always tell you it's going to be the best experience of your life and your life's going to change. And it honestly did. It was such an amazing experience. And I remember being with people who did not speak my language, who grew up in completely different circumstances than I did. Yet we were worshiping and praising the same God. And that same God loves all of us. And once that really hit me, that Jesus died for all of us, and that I got to see it with my eyes, it really changed my life, because it allowed my relationship to grow with God, because I saw how much he really loves each and every one of us.
Hey everybody, we're the Voices of Emmanuel. we're honored to be with you today. We're honored to be a part of this service, and we just ask that you would join us in worship. There is no fear, 'cause I believe. There is no doubt, 'cause I have seen your faithfulness, my fortress, over and over.
I have a hope found in your name. I have a strength found in your grace, your faithfulness, my fortress, over and over.
Make way through the waters, walk me through the fire, do what you are famous for, what you are famous for. Shut the mouths of lions, bring dry bones to life, and do what you are famous for, what you are famous for.
I believe in you.
God, I believe in you.
Vierte tu amor dentro de mí, tu gran poder demuestra aquí. Espíritu, ven, derrámate una y otra vez, Señor. Abre hoy las aguas, cuídame las llamas y demuestra tu poder, demuestra tu poder. Calla al enemigo, rebelión pedido y demuestra tu poder, demuestra tu poder. God of exceedingly, God of abundantly, more than we ask or think. Lord, you will never fail. Your name is powerful, your word's unstoppable. All things are possible in you. God of exceedingly, God of abundantly, more than we ask or think. Lord, you will never fail. Your name is powerful, your word's unstoppable. All things are possible in you. Make way through the water, walk me through the fire. Do what you are famous for, what you are famous for. Shut the mouths of lions, bring dry bones to life, and do what you are famous for, what you are famous for. Make way through the water, walk me through the fire. Do what you are famous for, what you are famous for. Shut the mouths of lions, bring dry bones to life, and do what you are famous for, what you are famous for. I believe in you. I believe in you.
There is no fear, 'cause I believe. There is no doubt, 'cause I have seen.
Your faithfulness, my fortress, over and over.
Hey guys, I'm Brandon Gomez and I was asked to answer 2 questions. How did the mission trip change my life and why is it important? It changed my life in a lot of ways, but the biggest is it made me realize how grateful I am for everything that I have today, because in a blink of an eye, it can be taken away from you. And that also made me realize that you need to surround yourself with Christ-loving people, because if you do hit rock bottom, they're going to be the ones that are going to help you rebuild your life. And that kind of leads into why missions is important, because you don't know what's going on in somebody else's life. You don't know how hard it is, but something so little as painting walls and putting flooring in can mean the biggest thing to them and the reason that they change their life and start living for the Lord. Thanks.
Hey EC, this is Justin Chitwood. I'm answering the question, why are missions important and how have they changed my life? I can answer that very easily: exposure. We get exposure to different cultures going on missions trips. It's changed my life getting exposure going on missions trips. It's important because we need the exposure. We need to understand people. We need to understand other cultures and not just be isolated to our own. Another reason why they are important is exposure of the gospel. Typically when you go on a missions trip, it's in context of evangelism and serving in Christ's name, and just being a light and loving our neighbor. That's why missions are important. Thank you.
Hey, Emmanuel College, Dr. Trump here. And I am here to talk to you about missions, but what I really want to talk to you about is the mission. I can tell you from my own personal experience and the experience of young people that I have led on missions trips that it has been some of the most life-changing experiences that they have ever had. I can tell you about serving out in the mountains of Nicaragua at a food station and having students, kids, coming to you, and they've walked probably 2 or 3 hours just to get a warm meal. And I can tell you about 2 students, Tucker was one of them, and they looked down at the pot that they had, and they were running out of rice. And they came to me looking at the line of students that were there, and they said, Dr. Trump, we have a problem because I don't know if we have enough rice to last to fill the rest of these bowls. And I just looked at them and in passing and I said, well, just do what Jesus did and pray over the rice. That's what he did to make fish and loaves. And I walked away because I was involved in playing with the kids while they were all waiting to get their food. And I didn't realize it until I got back where Tucker and Jonah shared the story, that they said, well, we just figured we'd offer up a prayer to Jesus. And they did that. And they can't explain how they never ran out of rice. I can tell you about other experiences where we're in Africa and we're walking out along the river, and all of a sudden we're helping people who are trying to build their thatched hut, and we're dragging these big, huge palm branches into their boats. So what I want to talk to you about is how life-changing that is. 2 specific teenagers in my youth ministry that didn't think that they were well off. Combined income of their parents was probably $150,000 to $200,000 a year, and they went with me to Africa, and one of them, their life was changed forever. And they now serve in a fundraising ministry in Crew on a campus. Now, what I'm doing in all of these is I want to make sure that you don't go on what I like to call evangelism tourism, where you sign up for a missions trip, but all you're really doing is you're going to tour an area. Because what you're really doing is you are joining God in bringing the kingdom to someone or to a location. Pablo Godames talks about it in these terms when he was a Catholic priest and he was working in Central America, and he said this: he believed that everyone was made in God's image, but that people, because of their living conditions or their situations, they couldn't realize that image. And so he paints this picture that what he was actually doing was taking these photographs, this film that had yet to be developed, and as he was ministering to these people and seeing them get free from addictions, as he was helping to bring water to their towns, as he was helping to see families restored, that he was helping to take that image that was latent in the film but hadn't yet been developed, and he was developing those images so that the true image of God could be seen. And that's really what missions is about. where you get to go places not just to see things, but if you go knowing that it is about bringing God's kingdom, it's about seeing people come into the realization that they are made in the image of God and that they're valued. And oh, by the way, this also gets into the issue of what did Jesus die for? And we think that it's just humans and human salvation. But if you read Scripture more closely, the cross and Jesus' death is actually an attempt and an effort successful to reconcile the entire world to God. That means that it's not just about humans, but it's about creation. And if you begin to think about it in these terms, it's not the question of what did God save me for, and oftentimes we think of heaven and playing on harps and going somewhere else. But if you read the New Testament closely, heaven isn't somewhere else, because when you get to Revelation, you see the heavenly city, the New Jerusalem, coming down to earth, and God has always wanted to dwell on earth with humans. And so what you're actually participating in is bringing the kingdom and helping God in bringing about a new creation and pointing the creation towards that deliverance. Now, this also raises other implications, so that if you're a Christian, let me encourage you. You want to get involved in missions. One, it opens your eyes up and shows you just how impoverished some places of the world are, and it gives you a whole new perspective on how you can live and what you can live without and what you can give up and what you don't need, because when you give up those things, you get to bring more to God's kingdom and offer more to God's kingdom. But if you're not a Christian and you're listening to this today, it's not just about saving a soul. If we think that we're made in the image of God, and that as we come into relationship with God and the Spirit comes into us, that we begin to mirror that image and the image of God gets developed in us more and more, then if you don't come into that relationship and you continue to fill your life based on power, and so you pursue positions of authority, or based on money so that you're after making the biggest paycheck that you possibly can, or if it's, say, desires and sex that rules your life. If you think about it in these terms, what you're actually doing is dehumanizing yourself. Because in order for us to fully know what it means to be human, to be truly human, God intended us to reflect His image. And so when you don't come into that image building process, you actually sort of become like what you worship, and you dehumanize yourself. And so let me offer an invitation to you today, because you don't have to have all the right answers and you don't have to have your life together, and you may come in still with more questions than you have answers. But I can tell you this, that when we think about what it is that God asks us to do, it's to become more fully human in coming into relationship with Him and allowing God to work in and through us. And if you're a Christian, what you're doing is you're joining in God's purposes of recreation. And you're not asking, what did God save me to for heaven, but what did God save me to do? And that is to be kingdom representatives, whether that's on a missions trip here in the United States to people who are impoverished or around the world. Guys, thanks for listening to me ramble on for a few minutes. And I also would encourage you to sign up for a missions trip, or if you're not a Christian, to talk to one of your leaders about that process and about coming into and beginning the process of being reborn and remade in the image of God. Thanks.